всех приветствую с
My
воскресным
greetings to
днем.
everyone and
И думаю, что все те,
congratulations on
которые
Sunday. I
были
think
сегодня на
everyone who
литургии,
attended the liturgy
наверное,
today
помнят, как
might remember
читалось
the gospel that
Евангелие.
was read
Евангелие
there.
как раз очень соответствующее теме
It
нашей
corresponds
с
to the
вами
topic of our
сегодняшней
meeting here
встречи.
today.
Напомню,
I'm reminding,
поскольку не
as
все
perhaps
могли
not
быть,
everyone was present
там
there,
речь идет о
it was about a
человеке,
man
у которого
who had a
удался
good
очень
harvest,
хороший урожай.
and
Он до этого,
actually
видимо,
he'd
жил
obviously
неплохо.
lived not bad at
Но
all
здесь, ввиду
before
особого
that. But
изобилия
this time,
урожая,
regarding his
он
great
стал
harvest,
размышлять о том, что
he
ему
started
сделать.
thinking what he
И
should do.
решил не больше не
And he
меньше,
decided
как сделать следующее.
no more or
Сломать
less
свои старые
than
житницы,
to knock down his old
построить
granaries,
новые,
to build the new
и
ones,
затем
and to
зажить
start living
так,
as
как
it should
следует.
be.
Ешь,
Eat,
пей,
drink,
веселись, душа
have
моя.
fun, and your soul have fun all the time.
Очень здорово сказано. Очень. Действительно, о чем только и
Indeed,
мечтаем.
what a human
человек.
being has been dreaming in the course
О
of
том,
the
как
history
вот такое
well,
дожить до
is
такого
to
состояния,
make
получить
such a fortune which will
такое
allow them to
состояние,
tell
когда
their soul,
действительно я смогу только
eat,
сказать своей
drink,
душе,
and
ешь, пей,
have
веселись.
fun.
Всего у тебя
well,
полно.
you have plenty of everything.
Поразительное завершение.
It's amazing, and amazing is the end
мысли
of this
богача.
rich man's
Безумный.
thought. Senseless.
В эту же ночь
At the very
истязут
night,
из
your
тебя
soul
душу
will be
твою.
taken away from you.
Даже не просто сказано,
It's
что
not even
умрешь.
just said you will
Это было
die.
страшно.
This will be scary enough. Your soul will be taken away from you.
И дело
And the
даже
bottom line is
не в
not just
том
what was the
промежутке
lapse of
времени,
time
который
between
отделил
this
слова
message
или
and the
мысли
moment
этого богача
when the rich man's soul
от
was
момента, когда
taken
душу
away
эту
from his
истягивали
body.
из его тела. Этот момент только
It's
мы с
just
вами так
us who are
удлиняем.
lengthening this lapse. How many days, minutes and months pass. Each of us realizes very well how we perceive all our past life, regardless of how old we are now, 20, 30, 60, 90 years old, as a dream which has passed momentarily, and now I'm here. It's really so. Time is amazing, strange, I would say. It seems to be, at the same time, is here, but it isn't. It is not for nothing. They say the past doesn't exist as it has passed, the future doesn't exist either as it hasn't come yet, and the present, it slips away all the time, so it doesn't exist either. So your soul will be taken away from you. Your soul will be taken away from you turns out to be the condemnation to which many of us are subjected. At least those who find the only sense of life to be eating, drinking and having fun. It will be taken away from you. These are interesting words. What happens to a person as a result of their death? What is it? We all understand very well that the humanity has been questioning itself throughout the history as it necessarily occurs to everybody. Mostly when the age reminds them of it. But very often for many people it happens in the youth or adolescence. Nowadays there are many cases of suicide because of the pointless life committed by 10, 11, 12-year-olds, even younger than that. It's a startling fact, which is true for both Russia and other countries in the West. Do you know that in the USA about 1.5% of all deaths is suicide, regardless of age, starting from the minimum age when a person becomes conscious of their actions? So, what is death? All the nations and religions have been thinking about it. All the religions the Egyptian book of the dead, which is considered to have been written around 2000 years BC, well, 2 years more, 2 years less, contains many prayers, thoughts, sacrifices to gods for the soul in afterlife. For what it will be like there, and what will happen to it. When it appeals to gods, who will you be? You'll be a bird, or you'll be a burden. It applies to gods, to spirits, in order not to be subjected to tortures, or something even worse than death. Some strikes, tortures, self-sacrifice, and the worst state of spirit. We see the same in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, written much later, around the 8th century AD. There we find something different motives. We see motives stemmed from the Buddhist teaching, the Bhakra teaching of reincarnation. What is the idea? So the idea, it's a different idea of salvation from death, but it's different from the book. It's the idea of reincarnation, the change of the body fabric, so the change of the form of existence. So I'd like to accentuate the idea of reincarnation does not have an end. So it's an endless chain. But some people can reach the state of spirit, but too seldom, but too rare people can reach the state. But in general, it's an endless chain of reincarnation. So all the nations and religions speak of death and of afterlife. Say the ancient Greeks, how they understood it. They understood it as follows. So they were pagans. They considered this earthly life in its worst state. But this state was better than afterlife. Homer said, it's better to be the last daysman here than to find yourself in Hades. And the understanding of afterlife was very interesting. There was this strange riddle they kept failing to solve. They were unable to solve this riddle. Homer describes that, on the one hand, a great hero, Heracles, is on the Olympus at God's feast, and on the other hand, he says, and Heracles' trembling shadow with a spear in his hand resides on Hades. His shadow is both on the Olympus with gods and in Hades. They don't know. This ignorance and uncertainty mean that on the one hand there is full certainty that there is afterlife, and on the other hand, so it does exist, this afterlife. On the other hand, they do not know what kind of a state it is. So it's just a guess, presumptions, thoughts, fantasies, attempts to philosophize, to analyze the problem. But I'll tell you the whole story. So if we go to such a book as the Old Testament of the Bible, even in the Bible, which we regard as God's revelation, we find amazing things on the one hand, before the prophets, the most ancient Jewish books, which we find there, tell us that a person's soul falls asleep. There is no personality after death. The soul itself is asleep, and everything falls apart. There is only a faith that all this will come back to life later, and only later the prophets, especially the great prophets, start saying that the soul does not die or disappear or doesn't even fall asleep after death, but it keeps living and feeling. This is about the before Christian times. If we turn to the way of thinking in the New Testament era, the Christian epoch, but to something that is parallel to and independent from Christianity, we find the same thing here. For example, philosophy, philosophical ideas, or the continued teaching of Hinduism. It's all the same thoughts. What are they? The top of it is a reincarnation. It's absolutely impossible to believe that there is no life at all. Humans are not animals. Life goes on. It's not just an assumption, but most interestingly and importantly, a great number of facts prove that there is afterlife of a personality. The facts exist not just in Christianity, but from everywhere where the literature has remained. The ancient history proved us with multiple facts. All who died and got back to life are all saying the same, at least in a sense that they all had seen themselves. They lived and felt. The fact is as follows: a personality lives on. It is indestructible. Many of these facts are striking. There was a sensational book published by the before the revolution in Russia in 1917. It left no doubt regardless the authenticity of facts reported in it. The book by Iskul, who lived there at all, and the title is great, incredible for many, but true event. This brochure was published in 1910. The author described what had happened to him, a curious and obviously real moment of the borderline situation between life and death. He says, "First I felt some heaviness, some pressure, as if something was pressuring me, and then suddenly I felt free, but not for a single second did I lost consciousness, the awareness of myself as of a personality. It was uninterrupted." It's interesting. For the people who see a dying person, it seems that the consciousness is fading away. Not. The bodily functions are fading away, but the consciousness is not. Many facts, especially those in modern literature, claim the same. A lot of literature is being published on the subject. The sensational book by Moody, Life After Life, was published in the USA in millions of copies. 2 million of copies were sold in the first year. So fact, it was a sensational discovery, but in reality such facts had been there before, but they were gone, unnoticed, and were taken as some hallucinations, facts of human mental abnormality. So a doctor, especially surrounded by many morphs representing only facts, alone as such. The person who is nowhere near any positive religious views. Interestingly, a person's consciousness remains uninterrupted by the bodily death. All claim it. So, both unreligious and Christian sources.
Об этом же говорят и христианские источники. Недаром, вы знаете, Bergson,
a famous philosopher of the end of the 19th century, said that a human brain is something like a telephone station. The telephone station does not produce information, it only transmits information. The information comes from somewhere and is transmitted to somewhere. That is the function of the telephone station, and the brain is just a transmitting mechanism, but not a source of a human consciousness. So, and really, the sum of facts saying that the human consciousness is uninterrupted proves his idea. So, what is very important for us is the first statement: is all non-Christian sources say that a human afterlife is uncertain. The uncertainty. They tell the information like in haze. The state is in haze. But there are some things which are specified now, which we find.
В которых примерно тенденция такова. Вот интересная, например, книга «За порогом смерти» Роулингс. Это известный доктор, который сам огромное количество раз оживлял человека, который находился в клинической смерти, и книжка, если кто ее никогда не читал, то советую посмотреть. Книга изобилует огромнейшим количеством фактов. Сам он человек был равнодушный к религии, но после одного случая, с которого начинает свою книгу, он совершенно иначе стал смотреть на проблему человека, души, смерти, вечной жизни и Бога. То, что он описывает, вот этот факт первый, он действительно заставляет задуматься. Ну, не буду говорить об деталях. Он начинает реанимацию каким образом? С помощью механических действий. Просто человек пытается путем массажа заставить работать сердце. И с чем он столкнулся? Причем столкнулся, как он говорит, впервые. С тем, что пациент сначала, когда приходил в себя, говорил: «Я в аду». Затем: «Не прекращайте, доктор, я в аду».
In hell, and he kept repeating it for several times. When he eventually came round, I mean the patient, he was pleading the doctor, "Do not stop, please." So he was writing about himself that he was a strong man enough, but so in his practice, when he was doing it hard upon a patient, he even broke ribs. But usually a patient, after coming round, he kept saying like, "Doctor, it's painful, it's very painful." So when a patient came round, he started saying, "I was in hell, so I am ready to sacrifice anything here, to be tortured, not just to get back to that hell." So when he started doing research upon this issue and he started questioning his colleague, it transpired that such cases were not single, they were recurrent, and he was saying in his book that the number of cases when people getting back to life kept saying that either it is perfect there it's paradise and I don't want to get back. So even when they got back to life, they were doing it with some sadness. Equally, the number of people who, after getting back to life, kept saying that it was great there, it was good, and they did not want to get back to life again. And the same number of people kept saying that they saw beasts, tortures, and it was a total hell. It's interesting to recall his description of those people who were getting poisoned there by pills, the suicides. So the suicides are 100% those who were facing both physical and spiritual tortures there, but they faced eye-to-eye contact with the beasts, whose appearance let the spirit shake up. But there was no place to go. He could not close his eyes and close his ears. It is the end. It is the end. So, and those people who faced this view returned to life with gratitude. Many people who were telling their feelings to him, to the doctor, dramatically changed their lives. So, although they kept silence after getting back to life, it was possible to understand by their facial expression that they drastically changed their lives and they're ready to change their life in the future. So, and the sum of facts, the amassed sum of facts, not the facts that someone said something from afar, but these facts are scientific. These facts are proved, these facts are specified. So it transpires that, so this is the fact that religion was kept telling about it, that a human being is not just a body, that the spirit lying in the body is a certain lifelong, deathless fabric which keeps itself, although it has two forms. The first one is the body, we're all in. It means that it's one of the forms of its existence. The next form is an eternal existence without the body, outside the body. The Christianity is telling about this very shortly. It speaks about it without any obscurity, without any pictures which are difficult to interpret, which we can explain in different ways. Christianity teaches us very strictly about what is a human being and about what happens during the death and what happens after the death. What does Christianity speak about it? You know, in order to imagine the full-fledged picture of it, the picture of what a human being is, it's important to say maybe that the teachings of Holy Fathers prove very strictly and firmly that a man before the fall, before our state, before the fall, used to have a spiritual body. I underline this, body, but it's a spiritual, a material one, but a spiritual one. So the body with all its functions, but it was a spiritual body. It's a paradoxical statement, isn't it? It's really a paradoxical one. It may be understood. It may be understood only if we take into account the fact of Christ's resurrection. You remember when Christ was entering closed doors, appearing and disappearing in the way, breaking the bread into pieces to give to others, like the principal man does. At the same time,
дай твою
he
руку,
tells
дай твой
Thomas, give
перст.
me your hand, give me
Дух
your finger.
плоти
The
и
spirit
кости
of
не
body
имею,
and bone
который
doesn't.
я имею.
So
Это
you
говорит
don't
он,
have the spirit of
неожиданно
body and bone
появившийся в
like
комнате,
I
которая была
do.
закрыта страха ради
It was
иудейства.
told by him who appeared
Никто дверей не открыл.
unexpectedly in the
И он
room,
вдруг говорит,
in a closed room. No one
пойди,
did
потрогай меня, прикоснись ко мне.
open the room,
В Риме и
and
сейчас
he
за этим
tells him,
показывает палец
come
апостола
up
Фомы,
to me and touch
которым он
me. In
коснулся
Rome,
нетленного ребра
they
Христова.
show the
Правда, я
finger
этому не очень верю. Знаешь, извините за мой
with
скептицизм.
which he touched
Но дело не
the
в том,
imperishable
что
rib
этот
of
ли палец
Jesus
или не
Christ.
этот,
Well, I
важно
don't believe
другое.
this, but excuse
Он
my
встречается с
skepticism, so it doesn't matter whether it was
реальностью.
this
С
finger
одной
or no.
стороны, это
The
реальная
fact is
плоть и
important that we
кровь и
face
кости. С
a
другой стороны,
paradoxical thing that
они
these were
обладают поразительным
real
свойством
bones,
прохождения сквозь эти
stones,
же
and
реальные
ribs,
материальные
and
объекты без каких-либо
were
затруднений.
endowed with a power to
Можно
get
строить
through
разные гипотезы
the
по этому
material
поводу. Скажу только одно,
objects. We may
что наше
build
знание в этом плане,
up
наверное, настолько ничтожно,
paradoxical
мы так
theories, but
мало знаем,
I want to
что,
say
исходя
that
из этой
our
совокупности
knowledge
фактов,
is
нам даже трудно
very
построить
little,
надлежащую
is
теорию.
crummy. It's
Возможно,
difficult to
это моя
build
теория,
up. It's
возможно,
difficult for us
что в этом
to build up the
трех- или
theories. So
четырехмерном
my
пространстве
theory is
времени,
that
да, это
maybe
все
in
вот
this
так,
3-4-dimensional space, the body
возможно,
is
что
felt like this. So maybe
для тела,
for the
которое стало
body,
духовным,
which
возможно
became
пребывание в
a
ином
spiritual
пространстве, в
one,
котором
maybe
оно
being
не
in
имеет этого,
another
и благодаря
dimension,
которому оно может проходить эту трехмерность
can
без всякого
get
препятствия для себя.
through this
Возможно, что это так.
three-dimensional world.
Возможно, но
Maybe
это
it's true.
объяснить очень трудно.
It's very difficult
Факт
to
вот
explain.
какой.
The fact
Святые
is
отцы утверждают,
that
что
Holy
человек до
Father
грехопадения
substantiate that
обладал
before the fall, a
духовным
human
телом,
being had
который обладал
a
свойствами теми,
spiritual
которые мы
body
видим в
which
воскресшем Христе.
had the qualities,
Грехопадение
which had the
то есть
qualities Jesus
отступление
Christ
от
used
Бога,
to have.
привело
So
к
the
тому,
fall,
что наша плоть, тело стало дебелым,
sidestep
то есть стало как бы
from God,
грубой
as a
кожей,
result of which
в
our body
результате
became
чего,
rough, coarse, and stiff, as a
последовали
result of
вот
which
эти вот
again
три кардинальные
these
вещи,
three
которые в
substantial
богословии
things
именуются часто первородным
we
грехом.
call
Три.
the
Какие
original
они?
sin. Three things. Which what are
Тленность,
they?
посмотрите, ребенка
Perishability.
и человека
Look at
преклонных
this.
лет. Вот она
An infant
тленность.
and an elderly man. This is
Страстность,
perishability.
если духовное
passionate.
тело абсолютно не зависит
A
ни от чего,
spiritual
ни от
body does
температуры,
not
ни от атмосферы,
depend on
ни
anything,
от питания,
neither
ни от чего не
temperature,
зависит.
no
Оно не может
nourishment,
страдать,
no
ему нельзя
anything. It cannot
причинить
suffer.
какую-то
You
боль,
cannot impose any
хотя это
pain
тело,
upon
но
it.
независимо от этого, оно
Despite the fact that
бесстрастно в
it's a
этом
body,
смысле. Бесстрастно.
it's
Страсть — это
dispassionate
слово, страсть,
in
страдание.
this
Ему нельзя
sense.
причинить страдания.
It cannot
Как
be,
нельзя
it cannot
ударив воздух палкой
suffer,
причинить ему
as well
страдания.
as
Так
you
здесь
cannot
нельзя.
impose
Так вот,
any sufferings upon air,
бесстрастность.
touching
И,
it
наконец,
with
и,
a
наконец,
stick.
то, что было в духовном бессмертии, то
and
стало в нас,
again,
это стало, значит,
what
страстностью и,
was-
наконец,
what was
смертностью.
passionate
Тело стало
became
смертью. Вот три
mortal. So the body
эти
became
признака,
mortal.
три
These
свойства,
three
которые возникли в
qualities
нашем теле.
which
Тленность,
appeared in our body.
смертность, страстность.
Perishable,
Ну, не только теле,
passionate,
они
and
присущи и душе.
mortal. So not
И
only
душе.
not
Но
only body has
если
these
душа,
qualities, but a spirit
хотя подвергнута
has the
страстности,
qualities as
но
well.
уже
So
другой
the spirit
страстности, греховной
passionate
страстности, это
again.
совсем разные вещи. Так вот,
Passionate in
оказывается,
sense
что
of sin.
вот эти вот три составляющие, тленность,
passionate,
смертность
of
и
these
страстность,
three
которые поразили
facets,
природу человека, так
which
они и
dented
обусловили вот
the
то
nature of
состояние, в
human
котором
being.
человечество находится. Это называется первородным,
so
если хотите,
these three
грехом.
things
Хотя на самом деле
caused
это не
the
грех.
state of a
понимаете?
man which we are
то, что мы
now
имеем это
in.
тело, это не
So
грех.
it's called
Это не грех, это наше
the original
болезненное
sin. So the fact that we
состояние.
have the body
Это болезнь,
is not a
это
sin.
нарост.
It's our garment,
Смерть
our tumor. Death
является тем
is
актом в жизни
the
человека,
act in a
когда
human
этот
life
нарост
when this
сбрасывается.
tumor is thrown off, when this tumor is severed, is torn apart. Why? Why does it happen? So that a spirit gets a healthy and refined body. So in Christianity we see the teaching of resurrection. The spirit creates a form, a body for itself. So the spirit is a central beginning, thanks to which a human being gets another body, a spiritual body. So the body, according to the body of the first man, he was created in. So this is the nature of a human being. So now we start understanding many things we find in Christian teachings, the future of a human being after death, life, etc. So what does the Church say? I mean, Orthodox Church. I need to point out that both in Protestantism and in Catholic Church, the teaching is much distorted. You will find many sidesteps from it, some of which are substantial. So, what does Orthodox Christianity say about this, on this issue? First of all, that a human being, after his death, I mean, the spirit, the first 2-3 days, I mean, according to our time. Why do I say according to our time? Because there we don't know whether time exists or no. I think no, it does not exist. There is another category, the category of eternal. So eternity is not an internal time. It's something else. It's something different. What is this? It's hard to say. Apostle Paul was where? He was in eternity. Then he got back into timely dimension. So it transpires that we can get into eternity from this life and vice versa. So it's a different thing. So during the first 2-3 days, 2 or 3 days, why do I say or? Because I'll have to make the remarks very often, because we have already said that our earthly time is different from the category that we call eternity. The soul stays where it wants to stay. If the man was surrounded by beloved family, beloved people, it is among them. It tries to communicate with them, but unfortunately the communication is impossible. All the after-death stories of the people who were reanimated, including a school who used to say that. So it's interesting, I wondered why they gathered in the room. So I peeped in the room. And I saw myself there. I was very astonished by this fact. I tried to go through, to come up to them, to get through them, and I could get through them very easily. I was trying to talk to them, but they would not hear. So everyone would say so. Everyone who came back from that state. So during the first 2 or 3 days, the soul can be here. Where? Here. in earthly conditions among those who it wants to see, who it would like to communicate, though this communication is impossible. So, as for the impossibility of the communication, many things which we would call wondrous usually happen, but the things which we cannot perceive actually. So there are lots of facts when a deceased man appears in someone's dream, something like this. So it's not necessary that he tells that I died. He knocks at the window, so he tells about himself. There is a slight element, the slightest element of the plausibility of influence upon those who are alive. So there is a slight possibility of such an influence. So there are other cases when a man starts seeing the passed away man. So there is a case where James, in the variety of religious experience, describes mother being in England, suddenly sees her daughter going in a cab along the seashore, and the daughter was in Australia. So England and Australia are far away from each other. She suddenly sees the wheel break up and the cab falls together with horses right into the sea, and the daughter dies. 2 or 3 weeks later, you can imagine the message the mother got with the exact description of what she had seen. This is another matter. It is a matter of clairvoyance. But what I would like to tell you is that there was a certain communication, a certain chance of communication, but it is minimal. But as a rule, it doesn't happen. The soul is here, tries to communicate, but nothing happens, no reaction, no response. Sometimes there are difficult things for the soul. One of the reanimated men told me, when he heard and saw his relative dividing the inheritance, what's left from him, quarrels started, no one paid attention to him, no one even talked about him, he is not needed, he is someone to be thrown away, the whole attention was paid to inheritance. You can imagine what so-called joy he got when he got back to life. You can just imagine this. He saw the inner state of those people who had just being flattering him. So that's what happens. So these are the facts which are undoubt, because they are buttressed up not only by Christian teachings, but only by real facts. But later other things start happening. Later, things which we have no idea about, we have no genuine idea about what happens to the soul later. We have nothing, we have no facts. For years we have been guessing about this, though Christianity has an exact understanding of it, and there is no reason why we should question this understanding. So, what does Christianity say? First of all, I'd like to pay your attention to the following things. There are very good words told by the angel to Macquarie from Alexandria about the way we should perceive everything we see there. Earthly things should be perceived here as the slightest depictions of the earthly ones. What does he mean by these things? The Christianity tells us about sufferings. So this is an unprecedented teaching. It's true. So many religions used to tell us that we could suffer. So Christianity tells us not just that we will be suffering there, but it exactly tells us that there are 20 sufferings, 20. There are 20 steps, 20 steps up. The soul must overcome on the way to what is its home. These are 20 steps which might be the obstacles on the way towards God's heaven. So, on the way to its normal conditions of its afterlife. By the way, the suffering starts with the simplest thing, empty talks, which we sometimes don't even pay attention to. So it's a very delicate word, but if we say like chattering, so what are these sufferings? So these 20 steps encompass 20 categories of sins. I don't mean 20 sins, but 20 categories of sins. So we don't have simple meanings of the word, but solid nets of the word. Every net has 20 or something meanings. So the sufferings encompass solid nets of sins, and in these nets there are different variations of these sins. The variety of sins, 20 steps. Some of you must have seen the books with the depictions of sufferings with different images and the imagination of the artists are very bright and impress us what sufferings happen on these images. But I repeat once again, something different happens in fact. It is very important. What exactly happens? What is suffering the Church speaks about? If anyone wants to know the idea, it is revealed in very clear words in the interpretation of Theophan the Recluse of the Psalm 118. Psalm 118. I will try to tell you this idea. What is suffering? Before I will tell you about this, I want to remind you about wonderful words by the Reverend Antony the Great. He said very simple things, but very important, which will help us understand many things we are now discussing. He says, when we lead our life in a correct way, properly, we live according to testimonials, then we, I mean our soul, our spirit, is connected to the God's Spirit, and we
Когда же мы
have a boon. If
поступаем против
we
совести,
act against our conscience,
нарушаем заповеди,
we break the testimonials,
соединяемся
we
с
connect our
духами
spirit
отверженными.
with
Слышите?
the
Связи с
spirits,
духами отверженными.
with
И нам
the
бывает плохо.
opposite adversary demons,
Кто
with
желает
the
посмотреть
bad
более пространно,
demons.
можете почитать. Это 150-й параграф из его наставления. Первый
It's the
том
paragraph
«Богословия».
150 of his book. Read it. These are wonderful
Он указывает на то,
words.
что
He
наш дух
speaks
соединяется, почему
about
называется
our
дух.
spirit
Вы слышите?
being connected
Вот воздух. Очень легко
to
соединиться.
another
Стоит
spirit. So
открыть окошко, и
this is
вот
the
соединение,
air.
правда?
It's easy
И будет один
to mix the
Так и
air.
здесь. Оказывается, наш дух,
So our
в зависимости
spirit,
от своей
depending
направленности,
upon
соединяется или
its
с Духом
directness,
Божьим,
whether
или, как он пишет, с
either
демонами
connects
мучителями.
to the Spirit of God or
Вот
the
что
demons, the
происходит в
torturers.
нашей жизни.
That's what
Но пока мы
happens
здесь
in
живем,
our
то у нас вот
life.
такие
While we live
колебания.
here, we
Знаете,
have such
То
fluctuations, you know.
взлетаем, то падаем,
We
то очищаемся,
either
то опять становимся
go
грязными.
up or fall down,
Приходит на
we
каждый день,
become
приходи на исповедь,
dirty,
и все равно над нами
then
будут читать «Примири и
we
соедини
try to
святей
repent.
Твоей церкви». Вот что происходит с нами.
That's what
И это очень
happens to
важно
us. It
для нас
is
сейчас.
very important
Дело
for
вот в
us
чем,
now.
что
The point is
по смерти,
that after death,
каждая душа,
every soul
она находится же в совершенно
is
определенном
situated
духовном
in
состоянии.
a certain spiritual state.
Какие страсти в ней есть, они есть.
If
Они
it has
есть.
passions, it
вот
has
мытарство,
these passions. So
мытарство
the
является собой не
sufferings
что иное,
are
как своего рода
a
проверку
certain
человека на его
checking out
страсти.
of a man,
На его страсти.
whether he has or doesn't have passions.
Здесь человек показывает
Here
себя,
a man
кто он
shows
есть,
himself,
к чему
shows
он стремится,
who he
что
is,
он
what
хочет.
he is, what he
Вы посмотрите, в безумии и
aspires
страсти, что
for.
делают люди.
So
Убивают.
just look what people in passion usually often do. They kill, they yell at each other.
Страсть — это
We
ужасная
say that
вещь.
he's crazy. Passion is
И
a
вот
very
оказывается,
bad thing.
страсти чем характеризуются? Зачитаю
What
вам одну замечательную
are they
цитату из
characterized
игумена Никона
with?
Воробьева.
So I read the
Страсти
quotation
в
by
1000 раз более
Nikon
сильные,
Воробьев.
чем на земле,
The passions are
будут как огнем
100,000 times
палить тебя
more
без какой-либо
powerful,
возможности утолить их.
will
Будут палить
torture you there without
Здесь наши
any
страсти. Вот я уснул,
chance
и
to
все
stifle
мои
these
страсти. Я там
passions.
злюсь на кого-нибудь, не
So
знаю
if
как.
I am angry
Потом
with
растерзать его, я
anyone,
заснул, и
I'm
всё.
ready to kill him, then
Или там меня
I
отвлекли.
fall asleep and
Здесь у нас,
that's it. So I'm
понимаете, они
distracted and I
прикрыты
forget this
нашей вот
passion.
этой телесностью.
So these passions
Здесь
here
поэтому
on
они не
earth
могут
are
действовать в
covered
полную
with our
силу.
bodily
Они редко
garment.
действуют в полную
So
силу.
they
Только
rarely
какие-то
act
мгновения,
in,
минуты.
to a full extent, only minutes, only
Вот что самое
seconds.
страшное.
That is the most
Там
horrible thing. There,
Человек,
there,
освобожденный от
there,
этой
a
телесности,
man being
оказывается
devoid
перед лицом
of this bodily garment
полного
faces
действия страсти.
faces the full extent of passions.
То есть уже ничего
It means
не
that
мешает.
nothing
Никакая телесность не закрывает.
nothing
Никакой сон,
bothers
никакой усталости,
him
никаких
from
отвлечений.
these
Страсть.
passions, no distractions, solid passions. So these 20
Это есть не что иное, как те
sufferings
20,
are
если хотите, лакмусовых
the
бумажек.
20
если хотите, экзаменов.
20 temptations, 20
Когда проверяется
examinations
состояние
when
человека.
a state of a
Чем
human being
он
is
живет.
checked out, what
И вот
he
здесь-то на
lives,
этапах и происходят
what he
вещи,
lives by.
могут
So
происходить
during
страшные
these
вещи.
tortures,
С
horrible
одной стороны,
things
душа
might happen.
перед
On
душой
the other
открывается тот мир.
hand,
То есть она уже
the
видит
soul
то, что есть на
faces
самом деле.
another
Сейчас мы видим
world. He
как,
sees,
как пишет
the
апостол
spirit
Павел,
sees what really
тускло,
happens.
гадательно,
Like the
как бы в
Apostle
зеркале
Paul
сейчас
says,
мы это все
like
верим.
we believe, we see
засомневаемся,
these
а то и
things
вообще
like
не
in
верим.
a glass.
Там
So we
перед лицом
doubt, we
человека
don't believe.
открывается реальность во
There,
всей ее ясности и
there a
полноте.
man
И
faces
вот
the
здесь,
truth, the
вот
real truth
здесь-то
in its full
и
extent. And here,
происходит
And here, the most horrible thing might happen. When a man sees everything, he sees both hell and heaven, he sees both God and devil and passion, and he cannot stifle this passion, he cannot defeat this passion. So every torture, every suffering is to check out. So a man who did not struggle, fight with his passions during his lifetime, who cultivated his passions, if you wish, he gave the power of his soul to these passions there, something like falling down from the stair might happen. That's what happens. And there no one can help a man. So there only a man alone faces the choice whether passion or the truth, whether passion or the boon, one of two. Or here in our earthly life, we sometimes know when we cannot defeat our passions. Nikan writes correctly there, 100,000 times more powerful are the passions. If here we cannot defeat the smallest things, how can we defeat the bigger ones there? This passage touches the state of a human being, but there is another facet of this thing which is not less important. When we go to the description of the tortures, we find what? We find the spirits of evil. So Theodora describes some of them, but it's clear that they are slight images of them. So there, our soul faces the spirits which are real. So there the spirit connects to the spirits of demons. So these are very simple things. So here, in our lifetime, we connect to equal people, to spiritually equal people. They are akin souls, they found each other. So akin souls are connected. And here, pay attention please, that every passion, what we call a manly passion, has its spirit, its demon, if you wish, as well as every good state of a man has its spirit, its, angel, if you wish, its own angel. So what really happens? A man who is in the state of passions, he naturally is connected to the demons to the demons that torture us. I would like to remind you that the word passion, you know what it is. It means sufferings. So what does it mean, Christ's sufferings? We speak about the passions of Christ, the sufferings of Christ, of Jesus Christ. The passion is suffering. That's why Christianity says that all the passions bring a man's sufferings. This is a lie, this is a drug, this is hypocrisy, and in the after-death state, the real revelation of the passions happen, and the man faces the real, their real action. But the descriptions we have are very primitive, I would say. So there we see the book being opened with scenes. They show the scenes we have nothing to pay with. So demons catch him and start torturing. But the point is not in this. No. So the similar to similar is connected, and a man gets to know very clearly what is passion in reality. So here we have different jokes like a man is passionate, so it's so good. No, in fact, the issue is absolutely serious. Great tortures, great sufferings begin. So the church teaches us. What do I mean by saying teach? So I want to say once again that as well as any laws opened up by science belong to nature, not the scientists. So as well as the things we are talking about, I mean tortures, are not something opened up by the church, and not they are not just the Christian teaching, they are objective, they are the reality. That is what happens with any dead, with any passed away man. It is very important for us to know, because we will die anyway together with you, but I don't actually believe it, but anyway we'll die. So these passions take place after a man's 2 days stay there. And later, after that, the soul goes through and beholds for 6 or something days. It beholds the image of heaven. So it sees what is waiting for the soul, for the purified, for the clean soul, and then it sees what happens to a man who fell down, who is caught up by this or that passion. That's why during the first 40 days, so the prayers for the passed away man is especially important. Unfortunately, we often do not understand and we don't pay attention to the prayer. So we can do anything, we'll give money, so we'll bring money to churches, to a clergyman. That's good, it's good, everything is good. However, the most important thing should not be forgotten, that God does not need any money. It's all paper. What is important? What can help? What can help? So, this is a very important question. What can help a man's soul? Prayer. What does it mean? A prayer. So we know that God is love, and why does He need a prayer? He will do everything it is important to do. But if there is nothing to do, why then should we pray? But by the way, the Protestants reject prayers for passed away, and the Church claims the importance of the prayer for the passed away, and the Church sets wonderful examples, wonderful examples of this thing. For example, the case described in the life of the Pope of the 6th century, Pope Gregory VI, who was praying, for the Emperor Trojan, who was one of the fairest emperors.
который в силу своей именно справедливости и уверенности в необходимости исполнения закона подвергал жестоким гонениям христиан.
Abiding by the laws was oppressing Christians. So Pope Gregory was praying for this emperor, and he saw that his prayers were heard. What does it mean? The prayers were heard. The Church claims from the very beginning that the state of a man's can change there. So the Church asks and calls to pray for the sinners, because our prayers can help a man who is caught up by passions, who is obsessed with passions. It turns out that we can help with our prayers. How is it possible to help that man? The Orthodox Church claims the great truth. It claims that all of us here, not only sitting here, but all over the globe, we are all the constituent parts of the living organism. We are not cogs in the machine or cogs in the bag and do pains to each other. We are living creatures in a living organism. We are living tissues in a living organism. So the Christianity says the Church is Christ's body. So we people are living organism, and we are Church. Moreover, it turns out that those people who are not the members of the Church, we even cannot judge about themselves. What are their connections with the Church? We know for sure that all the Old Testament saints, and we all know that the martyrs who could not be baptized, they were seen as members of the Church because they objectively could not be baptized, not because they rejected the faith, but due to objective reasons. So they are the members of this living organism. What is a living organism? How can we understand its life? So I got a toothache. The student comes to me and says, I got a toothache, so let it ache. So what do you have to do with it? So Alexei Ильич, why are you joking? So, but Apostle Paul opened a very important thing for us. So a hand cannot tell the eye that it doesn't need it. We are all the same body, but in the same body we know that the state of any organ, even more, it has repercussions upon the state of the whole organism. So it's an elementary thing. Ask any doctor. So do not be sad, please. No, it's very important. So these are very serious things we are talking about. Everything is interconnected in a living organism. Every single cell has the mechanism of influencing another cell. Here we are reaching the most important thing. When can one living cell help another living cell? Only when it is itself healthier than another one. If one eye is blind, so a man can see only in case another eye can see. It's a very important law of interdependence, inter-savior. One cell helps another cell with what? Giving itself, dedicating the part of it to another one, purifying itself. Purifying itself, it can help to purify, to save another one. So, being healthy itself, it can help another cell to be healthy. So, if a man breaks the leg, so who helps him? Only the strongest one. So this is a great image explaining to us what a prayer is. What a prayer is. It is a feat. It is a feat. You know, but I thought that it's only a scripture given to a clergyman. So, but or if I have lots of money, I send it to the churches. It means that I've prayed. No, no. A prayer is a feat. It's a feat of self-purification, self-repentance, the feat of self-repentance, purification of our own soul. Only in this case my prayer can really be effective and assistant to another man. Only in this very case. For example, a man's daughter broke her leg, and the clergyman said to him, so I will not do a gulp of wine until my daughter's leg becomes the same as it was. Yes, this is the feat. I take a part from myself, dedicating it to whom? To the one I love, to the one I pray for, to the one I sacrifice for, especially on the first 40 days. It is so important for a man who wants to help his mother, husband, sister, daughter, brother, it doesn't matter whom. It is very important for him to help. If he really wants to help, he must take out the part of himself of a feat. Man, do feat. Live at least for these 40 days in abstention, in indulging yourself into prayer. So be for these, at least for these 40 days, a Christian. Yes, I'm a Christian, but at least these 40 days be a real Christian. Only in this case your prayer to God will be effective. Because why? Because I sacrifice myself to this very self. Because this cell cannot help itself anymore. Do you hear that? After death, a man becomes absolutely impotent to help himself. So here, in this life, we can do sins, we can repent, we are free here, we can do anything. There, it's all closed, it's all prohibited to us. So, only being in a body, a man has the power to do good and bad. There, he cannot do this. That is the point. There is no earthly reality. There is nothing there. In the atmosphere of life, he can do and break testimonials. So there we can only help a man. How can I help a man? How can I help a man to get rid of the passion, to give a part of myself to that man? Only in this case my prayer is effective. Only in this case I really can assist a man in this. And what can happen in this case? So the man there can change. To hear that, change. So his state, his condition can change. He can reach the condition when he can get rid of this passion, to overcome. You hear, overcome the passion. So thus overcome the step of tortures he could not overcome. That's what a prayer is. Why it is so important to sacrifice a part of ourselves to this man. So and that is the charity to our enemies, not to our friends, especially to the ones I like. So this is defeat in inverted commas. No, just forgive your enemies. Forgive your enemies. That will be the purification of myself. That is the purification of my passion, of the sin. Because we are living cells. We unite our souls in a prayer. That's why, to the extent of my change, to the extent of my prayer, we are together. We together change himself, herself, change the soul. In a prayer, the unification happens. So this is the effective prayer. So during these 40 days, these 40 days the Church claims, this is the fact, just the fact we have to admit, during these 40 days it is utterly important to give assistance to a man, because on the 40th day, a man determines himself. We say that the soul faces the God and the determination takes place. So I am sure that it is the self-determination of a man. God imposes no violence upon anyone. God is the absolute love. That's why here, even here, in front of God, when soul faces God, so what do you choose? What do you choose, God or passions? Passions or God? That's what happens on the 40th day. The Church calls the self-determination. So the self-determination which happens to a man at the very moment, at the moment of his after-death existence, if you wish. I think that for everyone, so everyone got interested in a further existence of a man. So we do not find any answer in non-Christian thought. We do not find any exact determination. So the Church again offers an exact teaching of this, but the teaching is united with not only the fact of what will happen, but the Church claims that everything should stimulate, that the Church should stimulate a man to live correctly, to save a man of passions. So this is the church. So any church's truth has a pedagogical character. So there are no vapid teachings. So the teaching of Holy Trinity, so what is simple about it? So this is the primary dogma of the Christianity. So solid three-phase intelligence. What is that? This is the holiness of love. See how they are united. So as well as here in the teaching of further existence of a man, the church claims resolutely. On the one hand, we find exact sayings in the Gospel. The predictions say that the mankind will be divided. The ones will be enlightened as the sun in the God's heaven. The others will go into eternal torment. So this is the question which bothered people throughout the whole history of Christianity. So the Christianity teaches us about the God of love. And this is the dilemma. The dilemma Christianity faces all the time. On the one hand, God is love, and He created the man to do good. And on the other hand, we find the teaching that we will go into eternal torment. This is the incongruence which bothered many people. So the decrees of ecumenical council stated, so they just repeated the gospel. So we will have eternal light and heaven, and others will go into eternal torment. So there is not even the issue of it, the question. God did know about the destiny of these fallen people. Yes, He did know. How then can we understand the teaching about the God of love?